I got this pine edged glued panel from Lowe's. It's a 15-inch diameter. And I took some General Finishes Antique Walnut Gel Stain in a Gen foam brush, and I stained the entire circular panel. I then took some paper towels and just wiped any excess off. Once that was dry, I took the 1 Hour Enamel Clear Matte, and I just went over the gel stain with a top coat. I allowed that to dry, and I got this flower stencil from Michaels. It's a laser stencil. It's an 18-inch. And I laid it in the center of my circle. I took some painter's tape and I just covered the bottom stems of the stencil because I did not want to get paint there. Using some Antique Villa Wise Owl paint and a foam roller, I just lightly rolled on top of the stencil. Leaving the stencil in place, I took my blow dryer and just quickly gave it a little drying. I went back to my foam roller and did a second coat of the Antique Villa. Once that was dry, I took more painter's tape, and I just taped off a section in the top left corner. And using some Anchor Wise Owl paint and a foam dabber, I lightly dabbed on top of just the top left corner. You want to make sure you use a very small amount of paint. This will help prevent any bleeding from underneath the stencil. And then I removed it. I went back and I just filled in any parts where there was white peeking through. And when everything was dry, I laid the stencil back down. I took some painter's tape and I just covered the top left corner so I wouldn't get any paint in that area. I grabbed some painter's tape that was about a 1/2 inch wide, and I started at the top and I just went down my panel using one piece of tape as a spacer and lifting it. And this will just help give me lines. And I went down the entire stencil until everything was covered. Using some Wise Owl Republic Red and a foam dabber, I dabbed over any of the exposed areas of the stencil that was not covered by the painter's tape. Once I had everything covered, I removed my stencil, and then sometimes the painter's tape will lift some of the paint, and I just fixed that. I had this stencil with these small stars on it, and I used some Antique Villa to fill in some stars on the top left corner. And then I set that aside to dry. I got this Americana colored dish towel from Dollar Tree, and using my ruler as a straight edge and my rotary cutter, I just cut a bunch of strips off of the towel. And then I got this star table runner at an inexpensive price from Hobby Lobby, and I did the same thing with the table runner. I just cut several strips of each. And then I had some blue ribbon that I went and cut into long strips as well. I flipped my board over and I had covered it with the gel stain. And using some hot glue, I took my strips that I had cut up and I just went across the back side of the circular board. You can alternate the different colors and just fill in where you have any gaps. I took my rotary cutter to cut off any of the extra at the top. and I added a sawtooth hanger to the back top of the board so it had something to hang off of. And to finish it off, I gave it a top coat of the 1 Hour Enamel Clear Matte using a Gen Foam brush. And there you go. Now you have this fun Americana wall decor. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Paint products can be found on our webpage at chalkitupfancy.com. And don't forget, you can check out some other tutorials over on our YouTube or on our webpage as well. Have a great weekend.